Good evening, one and all. Welcome to the Mental Health Webinar Series 2020 and 2021. Today we are in 480th session. Today we are going to see the topic concept of self uh, Adler psychology versus Indian psychology. By the today's resource person, the great senior person professional in the psychology field, Padma Anil Kumar ma'am. She is the founder and director of Sitara. This is the Center for Self-Discovery. I would like to give some intro about Batma ma'am. She is a psychologist and counselor. She is in the field of 30 years and she is specialized in parenting psychology, child psychology and relationship psychology. And she's doing training, she's doing counseling, and almost she covered 40,000 people tentatively. So I would like to welcome today's resource person and all the participants on behalf of American College Madurai, MS Chellamuthi Institute Madurai, Madras School of Social Work Chennai, Red Pond Education Psychological Research Center, Yellow Pond Counseling Center, and Tamil Nadu Career Counseling Center, Tamil Nadu Counseling Psychotherapy Association, and STEPS Foundation. With this kind note, I would like him to welcome all the participants and today's resource person, Padma ma'am, for the beautiful session. Ma'am, over to you. You can start your session now.
So, thank you, sir. I hope all can hear me. I'm not very used to Cisco, so I'm just probably Zoom only. And what I wanted to thank you, sir, for the introduction. Lately, what has happened is that we have been talking so much about positive psychology. We're talking so much about other fields of psychology. So I've been really trying to understand Indian psychology because it's a new thing in the syllabus right now. So Adil, in depth, when I studied the 3 or 4 books that are available generally, when I saw that it is still at the mode of philosophy. In the sense, the whole of Indian psychology, the way they are explaining it is completely in the mode of philosophy, meaning they're still talking about Atman, they're talking about, it's at a theoretical mode as the Vedas or the Buddhism itself or Sufism itself has told us. It has not been translated to actual human behavior in the context of the Indian situations. அந்த மாதிரி எனக்கு ஒரு feel வந்தது. So I was reading more and more. So I read all related books related to that, and I was just trying to. So andella படிச்சதுக்கு அப்புறம் I felt the need that we probably have to cross-examine it because இவ்ளோ வருஷமா, even I learned Western psychology only mainly. So இவ்ளோ வருஷமா we've been following these books. அந்த புக்ஸ்ல இருக்கிற டெர்மினாலஜில கேன் வி கம்பேர் இட், கேன் வி ஒரு மாதிரி கான்ட்ராஸ்டா பண்ண முடியுமா, கேன் வி அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்ட் தட். ஸோ in that attempt, this is the first of the series that I'm going to talk about it. So long I've only been reading, trying to understand it. I did a certificate course for students of psychology, masters and bachelor students. Avanga ketanga. So I did a 5-day certificate course madri 30 hours la panna. But the point is, adhula ella what happened is I only taught what was there in those books. So இன்னும் கொஞ்சம் ரிசர்ச்சா பண்ற மாதிரி I started reading it up. So in that it was typically இதுதான் what is told in the Indian psychology அப்படின்னு சொல்லி whatever books were there அதை போய் translate பண்ண அவ்வளவுதான். So now when I'm seeing it, I wanted to see, because actually Indian psychology has been identified in Carl Jung's works. Many of Carl Jung's works, he has identified that Indian psychology is prevalent, it's good, it's understandable, etc. And then so in the Jungian world of psychology, there's a lot of reference to Indian psychology. But Adler oda world there's not much mention. And can I compare it in idla I started looking at it and I've started identifying it. So what I want all of us like sitting here is, I'm not going to do a presentation because I'm not yet ready. Very, very frankly speaking, I need to read lots more. I need to compare lots more. In depth, I can't call myself an authority on it to talk about it like that. But I want all of us psychologists to think about this very, very seriously and see how it can be translated. So this is just the first attempt. Today I'm doing concept of self as such. Tomorrow I'm trying to go more into the world of cognition, if I'm allowed, if I'm permitted. So I want to do personality separately. I want to do cognition separately, and I want to do various aspects of human human behavior, like the psychological terms, like what we can do little bit more in the situation is what I'm trying to do. Inniki I've chosen Adler. So I'm believing that this group is all psychologists. So I'm not going to over a term you explain panna poradilla. I'm guessing all of you know it, but I just want you to compare and I want it to be in the discussion mode. So feel free to stop me, feel free to ask, feel free to discuss, meaning really discuss. Is it there, is it not there? So I'll prompt questions. I will prompt the discussion, and I want you to ask, because 1 hour we can't reach an entire study or thesis on Adlerian work, but we can at least begin the discussion. Or idhula da na start panikke. So don't think of it like any other presentation where there will be a PPT and you go tuck, tuck, tuck like that. So it's more a discussion mode. If everybody agrees with that, I can go ahead. So Adlerian psychology, what was the crux of it is there was the concept of the individual. And the individual, from the point of he used some concepts. What are the words that he used? So the concepts that he used were personally superiority. He talked about inferiority, superiority. He talked about aspects of uniqueness of the individual. Okay. Now, when I'm looking at Indian psychology, I'm just going to take 2 or 3 tenets or 2 or 3 parts of the Indian psychology, and I'm going to try and assess this. So if we take the Bhagavad Gita or Buddhism, I'm going to take 2 or 3, that is Bhagavad Gita, Buddhism, and generally what the Indian, so when we say Indian psychology, there are 3 things to it. One is what was said in our Puranic and or all those things, and one is the psychology of the Indian, meaning our Indian practical setup la nammala vaadara mari we can take it. So these 2 things I'm going to take. One is that is the existing Vedic culture and all that's all our Vedas, all our Mahabharata, the Ramayana, the Bhagavad Gita, whatever, and Buddhism and things like that. And the second thing I'm going to take is the actual expression of the middle class mentality, the contemporary Indian, how does he translate into? And then I'm going to look at the thing. So when we're talking about superiority, inferiority, or we're talking about the uniqueness of the individual, uniqueness, these 3 are Adlerian terms. You know what Adler has told about. I mean, the Adlerian psychology has told about, not necessarily Adler, even the people after them. So in the 3 concepts, when they are talking about the self being or striving to be superior, the self constantly wanting to be better, what are we looking at? So in the Bhagavad Gita, they talked about how Krishna was trying to tell Arjuna what he should do to reach superiority, because he already had a feeling that he is inferior. He is not anybody to be able to fight this entire his own clan. He had great veneration for the people in front of him in the situation. He talks about uniqueness. He talks about the superiority of the individual and says that that is what you should aspire for and what you should go for. So that whole Bhagavad Gita, the talk about it over chapter, if you see what is happening, means it is in that building of the unique persona of the individual required for a particular dharma is in Indian psychology, but not only necessarily dharma, it is talking about uniqueness in the individual required to problem solve. Now I'm putting it in psychological terms. Problem solve the existing life situations. Now this is again an Adlerian word, lifestyle. He creates his own lifestyle according to what his perceptions of life are. So because Arjuna was having an inferiority complex, Krishna was the influencer for that particular aspect in order to change that particular set of thinking. So there he's changing the cognition. How he's changing the cognition we will discuss later. But that personality, the persona of the individual was made to be one way. So one example is that. The second example, if you see for the similar thing that I have taken, you can take different examples, but I'm just taking 1 or 2, is Bhishma. Now he had a power of his own all the time from the beginning, even to his father. There is the role that he played that I am superior. He believed that he had the qualities that was higher than, and he took on the entire burden of the entire, if you want to say the war, the clan, whatever. So, and when he took those superiority roles, how did his lifestyle change? What was his lifestyle aspects that he according, so his perceptions were so unique that he did not take on the behavior patterns that was supposed to be appropriate at that particular time. Then, so in all of Bhishma's characteristics, there's a beautiful Varnana, which is Sanskrit quotes are there, of what his characteristics were. Why did he, I mean, if you think of it from a lay point of view, I think he is the actual person who made the war happen. If he had just stopped it, he could have Abdindra Nanipala. When you see the characteristic completely, you will realize that it was a high perception of a complete individuality that he had, the persona of superiority that he had, the feeling that it was in his hands to actually convert even his father's thinking. He felt even superior to his father at that point of time when he gave up all his rights. So can you see, if you read Adlerian aspects of what uniqueness will be, how they will be controlling, how they will try to control things, you will see characteristics similar. And in fact, idealistically, we could do it. We can, I did that in one of the chapters, literally separated, took out all the characteristics of Bhishma and wrote it there. And I could see not just this aspect of uniqueness and rising above superiority, but also I saw the characteristics of the firstborn. I saw characteristics of, initially he was the only one born. So the firstborn, how he ruled that aspect of I am the control, I know everything, I have this thing. If you look at these two characteristics itself, each of these two characteristics of the Adlerian this thing of superiority, uniqueness, etc., very clearly and very evidently you can see that all the characters in the Mahabharata, in the Upanishads, when they talk about Manu Shastras, all of each one of them are idolizing this uniqueness and the superiority and the search for superiority and the need for superiority. So besides this particular aspect, what else, Indra Kelvi, what else is there that is Adlerian? How can we actually do, what is the associations talk about? There's one very beautiful aspect from the Buddhist literature also. What does Buddhism tell every individual? What does Buddhism tell every individual? The Adipada is the ultimate liberation, the ultimate, it's asking you to actually seek moksha. But in that entire path of Buddhism, in that entire processing of Buddhism, they talk about the uniqueness of the individual in seeking mindfulness. Now, if you convert mindfulness in the terms of Adlerian psychology, what you will realize is that lifestyle aspect is mindfulness. That equation between lifestyle, as Adler would put it, is exactly what we have to see in the essence of mindfulness. Because what they're talking about there is that the individual will specifically behave in a particular manner in order, and for that complete rasana, that is every aspect that you are seeing, you have to feel it, see it, believe in it, and go through it one by one. So Indian psychology very clearly has identified these aspects that I can tell are specifically related to it. So uniqueness, personal superiority aspect, and subjective perceptions. These are the three things that we first think. The next thing that I told you is that in the case of Buddhism, when they have taken it through the process and they've come to that is another Adlerian tenet and concept that is related to goals, growth, and free will. So if you look at Adlerian concepts, tenets, and things like that, you'll understand one important aspect, uniqueness. The next thing is goals, growth, and free will. What are goals, growth, and free will with regard to Indian psychology? Moksha is an easy answer. But more than moksha, whether it is yoga, whether you take the aspects of yogic culture, whether you take the psychology of yoga, it talks about growth and goals. And the goals are so clearly identified. That is, there is a physical goal in yoga. Specifically, there is a physical goal in yoga, which is about fitness, which is about whatever. Then it moves into the cognitive, because thinking. Then see, when you say Buddhist culture, you say dharma and the aspect of the word and desire. Desire is what is cognition, where we are thinking what we want. So the goal can be, it is also desire becomes what are you aiming for. So it's not just the individual growing out of misery, growing out of comparison, growing out of, it is the desire aspect. Desire, if you think, is actually the cognition of the individual.
If you want to come out your from your psychological trouble, then
What is happening? Somebody else wants to
change your physiology. Change your physiology means you have to act as if
Participant, you can meet. I think somebody is unmuted. I will meet all, ma'am.
till you make it. Make it.
Ma'am, now you can unmute yourself.
What happened, sir?
No, somebody actually unmuted. I muted all the participants now. You can go ahead, ma'am. Sorry for that.
Okay, okay, no problem. Okay. So I was telling you about the fact that, okay, so when we talk about Buddhism, we're talking about the process. They talk about dharmam and they talk about exactly how your lifestyle must be. So again, if you take the Buddhist tenets, look at the Buddhism book, an entire book on Buddhism, and say, what are they actually telling you to do? Enna correcta? What are they? What is daily living? Abdindra, if you take that aspect, it is coming that the process is what Buddhism is talking about. It's talking about at the three levels. So first of all, cognition, and then desire. From the point of view of desire is one thing, but what about the desire of the mind, the wants, the greed, the aspect of craving for something? So that is where the emotional aspect comes in. So when you talk about cognition, there is a clear cut path, and while the behavior is being included, it is completely related to mindfulness. It's saying enjoy rasana, the aspect of enjoying every moment of that particular lifestyle has to be there if you're a true Buddhist. So there is, I don't remember the exact slokam and all that, but when you look at Buddhism, this thing, there is the Buddhist life is such that even though he is absolutely non-violent and does not, do things that is anything related to anger, if he is in a place where he is getting alms, he is begging for his livelihood, if that person gives him non-veg also, he is supposed to eat it. So what are we talking about? An entire lifestyle that is of tolerance and controlled desire is one thing that is there right through Buddhism, in even the Bodhisattva's teaching, even the many generations of teachings of Buddhism. There is the clarity that you are agreeing to what is around you. You are agreeing, accepting, not changing yourself from within, but accepting what is from the outside. So if you look at Adlerian principles also, you will see the success of superiority there, striving for perfection from within. Now, striving for perfection from within is what Adler had advocated. And he said that when they strive for success, for superiority, then the drive or motivating force lies behind all our behavior and experience. So if you take the goal as moksha, and if you take that as the ultimate or appropriate goal, then you will realize that the entire path is a change in lifestyle as per the Buddhist preachings. Similarly, if you take any of the Hindu tenets, those people, whatever they're talking about, they're talking about a lifestyle change in the individual. And they're here where in Adlerian principles, they're talking about self-actualization also. They're saying it's similar to self-actualization, the idea of self-actualization. And they are talking about achieving that. Now, I'm repeating. First one is the uniqueness. The second is the superiority aspect. And the third we talked about is actually striving for a lifestyle which will lead us to that particular superiority. Now, the third thing which I found extremely beautiful, which is probably something that as an old psychologist, meaning so many years we studied psychology, the real psychology we studied years ago, we heard that gay behavior, all this is completely supposed to be abnormal behavior. But if you look at Indian psychology versus the Adlerian psychology, where they talk about personality renders all behavior comprehensible, unifying personality. So the final goal of Adlerian principles, people strive towards a final goal of either personal superiority or a goal of success of all humankind. Now, the roles of the other than male and female in the Indian psychological context, here again, I'm going back to the Bhagavad Gita or the story of the Mahabharata. All the roles of those people who are not male or female, or even if they took that role for a period of time, even if they are manifesting themselves as to be not a male or a female, even in your avatars, even in your, that is the Bhagavata Purana, in the Bhagavata Purana, where the incarnations are invariably either not man, not animal, or it is either not, not male, not female. Whenever they have talked about all of that, there the manifestations were such that it was for a specific goal, where they talked about it as a specific goal, and there they gave the self-actualization aspect of the character of the individual that they put aside is unifying personality to a ultimate goal, making that personality for a goal. So if you look at the Mahabharata, each of those people, even before their birth, that is in their previous birth, it was identified to have been moving towards that particular goal. So if you look at the Indian psychology now, then also they accepted that they can be a third gender. They accepted the fact that the third gender is a particular persona, the uniqueness there of that personality. Now, I am not adept at saying that is okay, because when we studied it, it was supposed to be a psychological disorder. So now, is it still a psychological disorder? What is the therapeutic aspect of the whole thing? Is another question that I asked myself, which I haven't found an answer for. I'm still looking for it, because what is it in that gender because I'm counseling a lot of people who are homosexual. How can we build that persona in them? Because they are feeling different. They're very, very anxious. They're extremely going through a lot of emotional upheavals, and they are not accepted by society. So what in Indian psychology that they accepted those people, and what is that justification of that particular genderization? I'm saying particular, there's no word called genderization, but I'm saying we know male, we know female, we don't seem to understand the third gender very well enough. So in that, they are biologically like that, some of them are, or in their cognition, they are like that. So what in Indian psychology can it? Now, when I looked at Adlerian aspects of describing that, they were talking about such behavior patterns when we look at the inferiority complexes and the exaggerated sense of inferiority and inability to cope. In that, one of the books that spoke about homosexuality, etc., and they had borrowed Adlerian aspects, they spoke about it and talked about it, that it's an exaggerated sense of inferiority. It's an exaggeration. So these people were going through an exaggerated sense. As a third gender, we are already feeling different. We're already, so we could call it inferiority. Now we have to, if we consider them as psychology would have it, as in if we respect unconditional positive regard la pata, if we are looking at them, can we bring them to a uniqueness level as in Adler's theories? So Adlerian theory la appadi irukumbodhu, how can we compare? So Indian psychology, they'd already done it. There is an entire, I haven't completed those chapters, but I have seen a very, very close understanding of the concept of self in pulling this individual from inferiority to a situation of going towards success and superiority. So that those things, that is where I would like to compare Adler and Indian psychology. So striving for success for such people who are inferior, who are probably who are not considered as unique or as respectfully unique. They are unique, all right, but respectfully unique. How are they not considered? Pakumbodhu, healthy individuals concerned with goals beyond themselves. So now what has happened is recently a few of the third gender are actually trying to continue their education. The stigma is being removed and they are behaving. This is what I said. The other aspect of Indian psychology, can we get them into normal mainstream life? Can we be a Bhishma and support it and not fight them? So Bhishma actually, when he stood in front of the third gender, he said, no, I can't fight. He's not a man. He's not a man. I cannot fight him. And a situation has come. So what is that acceptance? They are not man, but we don't have to fight them. We have to respect them. We have to move away. We have to step aside. We don't have to abuse them. So can we become, that is using the ideals of Indian psychological uniqueness into the system itself and understand how we can therapeutically reach that stage where we respect and accept that person. So that is what is happening right now, if you take it from the Indian context to the present situation. So there's another thing here again. Able to see others not as opponents, but as people with whom they can cooperate for social benefit. This is Adlerian. This is one of the tenets of Adlerian, this tense. I repeat, able to see others not as opponents, but as people with whom they can cooperate for social benefit. Now, that I have realized in today's world, wherever we have actually fought for that community, it is for social benefit. In fact, one beautiful recent, it's a blog actually, but I love the way they had pulled it up. The safest people to leave are women with. is the third gender. So a social interest from that point of view, from a social context. So social interest is also one of the tenets of Adlerian principle. So if we redefine our social interest for these people, there is a clear-cut place for these people in our society. So I'm just trying to, compare. I hope everybody can understand what I'm trying to do. I'm quite muddled myself, but the point is that I'm trying to look at one hand on Adler, one hand on the Indian psychological aspects. Thank you, Vishal sir. So I'm trying to connect it, and I'm just reeling out my thoughts with all of you, so you all can also talk later. So 2 or 3 more things only I have to say. So I'll just say that also. Then there is the aspect of teleology. What is teleology in Adlerian principle? Is an explanation of behavior in terms of its final purpose or aim. So let's talk about moksha. What is moksha? What is self-actualization? What is whatever you want to call it at that? So teleological aspect has already been spoken in Adler. And I think in the Indian context, it is the best explained with regard to whether it is yogic principles, whether it is Buddhism, whether it is Indian psychology as in the Vedas, we have completely identified that. So actually we are very much in touch with the aspect of the tenets related to Adlerian. Unified and self-consistent. This is again in individual psychology, they've talked about unified and self-consistent personality. Personality is unified and self-consistent. This again, the example of Bhishma, or if you take any of the characters, I'm just using 1 or 2 because then we don't have to ramble around it, but whether it is Rama, whether it is in the Purusharthas, what is the role of a Purusha? What is the role of an individual? Each one of them, there is unified and self-consistent aspect of personality that has been identified and unified from all the varnas, with aspect to all the varnas, with respect to all the brahmacharya ashramas. All the ashramas also talk about the continuity of that particular personality, and it is identified. Even if you take, the Chanakya's Arthashastra, the roles of a leader, if you combine that also, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, absolutely, sir. Anita Ramchandran, thank you. So if you take that road also, whether it even in Arthashastras, where he's talking about political systems, where he's talking about there also, there is a clear-cut identification of the unified personality being manifest there. And only when he says leader, he says how much sacrifice, how much of life with the personal life versus the life of social interest, the life of a beautifully, if you read the Arthashastra, every step of political life, every step of a public life, I won't say political, of a public life of a leader. Now, say, for example, in our own groups, all of us know when you take on a responsibility, when you start running an organization, the minute there are 5 other people other than the family, our lives become completely a different persona. There, in fact, when I was reading psychological aspect, we are seeing also the interference of imposter syndrome, which is also a term that is being used contemporarily. What is that? Even our social media, we're having lot of impostering that we are doing. We are putting a different image and we are being one image. But all this has been spoken in Arthashastra as the dharma of a leader, as the dharma of an influencer. The minute you become an influencer, you have to contain a particular persona. You then have no rights. So even why Rama was sent into, why Rama, he wouldn't have never sent his wife away. Being the real great person that he was, why did he do such a crime? Why did he do? So when you justify that also, it is a clearly identified at what is the social interest persona, that personification, unified and self-consistent personality that Adler has identified is actually examples both in Bhishma's case as well as in Rama's case. So conscious and unconscious. Now, since Adlerian psychology is an offshoot of what we talk as the psychodynamic personality, where they talked about the unconscious, Adler, in the Adlerian psychology, he's more in the conscious. That is true, but not like he's completely left out the unconscious also. So where is that aspect of coming in? So if you look at both the Bhagavad Gita and even in Buddhism, there is the entry and the exit consistently of dreams. Each and every ideology achieved, or each and every the kind of, what you call the changes in life that happened in those stories, whether even in Buddhism, if you see the role of dreams and how only through the analysis of the dreams they realized whether they were right or wrong. So both in Buddhism, in a story, in the life of Buddha, in the life of Mahavira, in the life of all our, even Shankaracharya, all who are part of Indian psychology, there is, like, say, for example, Shankaracharya's dreams of Devi's seeing Devi in his dreams as to where he has to establish something, where he has to go, how he has to do. It is all actually the effect. Now, can we call that correct, wrong? That is a debate that you can have. But the aspect that there is the interference, if you want to call it that, or actually the permanence of the fact of the preconscious coming in, or the subconscious coming in, or the unconscious coming in, constantly the reference to dream analysis makes it a clear-cut explanation that there is the influence of the unconscious within the higher powers. That is personality manifestation. Like, if I want to manifest my ideal persona, I will need to understand my preconscious, and my preconscious is the drive source that can actually take me to my own potential. So when we say hidden, what is the hidden? It is the unconscious probably that we need to tap. That aspect throughout, if you look at any aspect of Indian psychology, you will clearly see that there is the influence of the preconscious, that is the hidden potentials, whether it is the skill of Arjuna or the skill of any of the people, each one of them, it was a manifestation, not exactly, not just as a genetic aspect, but as a inbuilt ability that can be honed. Whether, and this, if you take it away from Mahabharata and all that stuff, and you take the uh, consideration of, say, Hanuman, or the stories of the various gods, or whatever it is, whether they are a story, whether they are reality, the way Indian psychology manifests itself on the human being is very, very clear, that it asks you to delve inside you, find out the hidden persona within you. And that they asked of Abhimanyu, they asked of even Parashurama, they asked of Hanuman. If you read these stories, you will realize that there was the tapping into the unconscious. And when they tapped into the unconscious, in a trance state only, they got that manifestation. In a state of trance only, they got that understanding. Whether it's Buddha, for example, in his state of penance and meditation, he realized the true world. His understanding of the true world came in. So when we talk about unified and self-consistent, there is the harmony between, so this is Adlerian words, the harmony between conscious and unconscious actions, the unconscious part of the goal that is neither clearly formulated nor completely understood by the individual. In the conscious state, the unconscious is not understood. But if we go into a trance state, if we go into a subconscious state, there is the manifestations, and then that becomes the reality that has been tapped into with regard to most of the Indian psychological components as such. So that is another thought process. I think I can go on to one or two more. Um, the creative part, as in the style of life. So Adler has talked about style of life or lifestyle or whatever. He's talked about the creative part, the freedom to create her or his own style of life. All people are responsible for who they are and how they behave. The way to solve problems is there within every individual. The law of the low doorway. So when you look at each of it, now this was very, very easily we can say it is humanistic. We can easily convert to humanistic psychology and say, this is already there in the tenets of the humanistic psychology. We already understood that. But in Adlerian psychology, in the development of the self, there is a very clear identification. Now look at it from the point. So it's creative power. Which of our heroes, so-called Indian psychological heroes, whether it is Adi Shankaracharya, even Madhavacharya, all those people, even our own Bharadiyar, if we can take that as one of our learned gurus in that field of Indian psychological aspect, because we are talking about philosophy, but that philosophical thing is what in the foundations of Indian psychology is that the Indian Puranic influence. I'm trying to look for the correct words. The Indian Puranic influence, as in their religion and culture, identifies the human behavior and says this is the way to live. That is, it is only a way of life. It is only a way of life. They have only told you that you must live like this. They have not tried to put down rules. That is why we have that many gods and that many people. So each god is that one personality. And so we don't, that is the uniqueness of the personality comes there. So if you take it as that our Indian psychology has clearly identified that we respect the individuality of the individual, and it is within you to create. That creative power is within you. Is there. So even like say for example, when they created a Devi to kill an Asura, I'm not going into specific stories, but when they created a Devi, or they created a particular form of God to kill an Asura. So Asura can be easily equated to any of the evils, okay, of the world, whatever is a problem to solve. So problem solving solutions edukumbodhu, what do we have? We have to create a combination of strengths. We have to create a combination of strengths. Very clearly, each of the gods will come and give one strength to one person or one, manifestation. So, and the manifestation is what? It's a conglomeration of strengths in order to fight a particular negative aspect within the world that is. So beautifully Indian psychology, whether it is existent, whether it is really a story, all that is completely different. Irukra books if we translate also, clearly identify panna mudiyudhu. That is, this is what it's asking you to do. Look for the strengths in the particular negativity of fight pandradhukku. What can we pull in through? So in Adlerian words, it's creative power of the individual molded by people's creative power. Style of life is molded by people's creative power. Adukku, we can see it in the strength of each and every asura that has each and every god or so whatever, any strength that has fought the asura within the situation. So that is something I love. I think there is unmute, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, you can unmute yourself, ma'am.
Yeah. So then let's move to the aspect of abnormal development. When Adlerian was talking about it, he talked about three kinds of insufficient social interest. So let's take, for example, insufficient social interest. If we take the role of the Gandharva kings, Gandhari's Shakuni, if you take Shakuni, they all seem to have a certain kind of abnormal thought process, cognition, wherein they wanted to harm the particular existing piece. Okay. So that I want you all to keep it in mind. Again, along with that, you can think of Dhritarashtra. You can think of what he was. He was having an inability. He was blind. So what was his manifestations of his inability? How did he, what was his control then? If I am already blind, I'm not in control, how will I be in control? If you think of all of that. Now let's look at it from the point of view of abnormal development within these aspects. Blindfolded herself for her husband, yes. So when you're looking at neurosis, a matter of insufficient social interest is what Adlerian principles talks about. So when Adlerian principles, when they talk about abnormal development, they're saying if it is neurosis, a matter of insufficient social interest, three types: the ruling type, the getting type, and the avoiding type. Now the ruling type, the getting type, and the avoiding type. If you look at each of the types as explained by Adler, you can identify personas within the Mahabharata, of course, but also in the Buddhist explanations of what he confronted. So there is one path where Buddhist talks, that is Buddhism's preachings are there. Okay. And then there are books that where he says how we see Buddha. The point is that if you follow Buddhism, you can get moksha. But never has Buddha told this is what you should do in Buddha is actually that. What Buddha says is that the only person that I have enlightened is myself. I can only tell you about my life. That is what, when you read the whole of Buddhism, you will realize. So if he is telling that his life is a thing, Angarkrada is about a way of life. But in the fighting of evil, in the way of how to harness your energy and to quell all your inabilities, that you have to read the bodhisattvas, the various tenets of bodhisattva aspects. Then what you have to realize is that the offshoot of Buddhism and as remedies, what Buddhist people who have followed Buddhism, what did they come up with as remedies? Those are actually Tai Chi is an outcome of that. Reiki is an outcome of that, which we have a parallel in India called pranic healing. So if you look at those as a alternate medicine, or like we are looking at Ayurveda from in the Indian culture, from the Hindu tenets, whatever. If you look at Buddhism, you will see there are some parallels to it. Tai Chi, for example, the complete ekakrita of your presence, of your mindfulness, bringing it together and moving with absolute uh, focus, concentration, and absolute stillness. You're moving in stillness. You're moving in stillness. That beauty of that movement in stillness is the actually the outcome for many of our own treatments that we have to look for in many of the disorders. So if you look at all that, this neurotic approach, that is the neurosis, how do I treat neurosis? If you think the ruling type, the getting type, and the avoiding type, if you look at neurosis and see the symptoms, where after you read Adlerin and then look at therapeutic aspects, which we will do tomorrow, we will be seeing that aspect there, where the manifestations of the outcomes that we see in Buddhism or in Hinduism. What is the therapy that has been advised? What is the method of actually removing that negativity? That when you see, you will realize that it is perfectly, very much in touch with Adlerian. Of course, it is in touch with humanistic. I'm not even denying that. And there is a very obvious touch with regard to existentialism. So I'm trying to divine all that. I've not been able to bring out all that as yet. I'm still reading. It is just the nascent stage. I want interactions, because what I'm reading is probably not just the beginning. I can't read the Tirukkurals. I've heard that the Tirukkural is also a very strong agent of Indian psychological aspect and how it transfers and explains things. I don't know Tamil to read. So I'm struggling with that. But I said there's enough already in Sanskrit. First, let me crack at least one thing, and then we can move to the others in the belief. So I want you all to interact and see. I am not telling you that this way or that way. I'm just seeing what parallel I have seen, and I've put it forth to all of you. I would love to create an entire syllabi that will make the understanding of human life as understood in the Indian philosophical to a psychological thing. The philosophy is telling you how to behave, but can we bring it out into a psychological parallel? So I was telling you that one more thing I want to look at is the upper middle class, the kind of thinking that we are having, the kind of pressures we put in our children are all equated to actually the path of moksha, brahmacharya, each of the ashramas that we are looking at. There are tenets within brahmacharya ashrama, which is what the should be inculcated while we are parenting. When we are doing parenting workshops, I have realized that if we can teach them the correct procedure of brahmacharya ashrama. Now, lately, I have seen that parenting, suddenly there are a lot of new parenting strategies that people are telling that the old parenting styles are wrong. That they are telling that we have to, these are all stereotypical things. We have to go away, we have to outdo this. We have to oppose our parents. We have to tell our they're talking about parents being toxic relationship. Your child and parent toxic relationship. Now, when you use words like toxicity and things like that, it becomes very, very it can be, it's again like euthanasia. It is probably mercy killing is required, but then if you generalize it, people start killing everybody. Similarly, if you say that one parent or two parent may not be good enough for the child, and we use the word toxic relationship between parent and child, we will be completely squeezing out the importance of family in India. So that is how I started reading it, to understand how to inculcate parenting through the Indian psychological tenets is what I started reading with. I have come to a big kind of a cutter. It's knotted up completely, and I'm trying to understand and put it down in paper. I have seen so far that in the idealization of the self, I can very easily rely on inferiority, superiority, etc. From the Indian psychological aspect. I've also seen that I can identify the paths of desire and reducing desire from the Buddhist tenets, etc., and things like that. In the chat box, I see people are asking for a feedback form. You can definitely, in our group, we are in the Yellow Pond group. I am part of the Yellow Pond group as a founder member also. So you can definitely contact that. But otherwise also my organization, it's called SITTA Sitara. Instagram page, we are as share_with_Sitara. I'm not very active in all those things. But even then it is there. So definitely if you DM me there, I can definitely reply to that. SITTARA, Sitara is my organization. Okay, so with it's an incomplete discussion, but it's already time. Yes, thank you. So it's an incomplete discussion. It is something that I have just started. I want us to think, because we are Indian. We have a very strong culture. Our behavior, in fact, the Tamil culture is the oldest language. I'm sure that nobody knows those things are written in our culture. We need to take it up. We have to see how we can bust that Western terminology, that kind of a supremacy in our minds that, oh, self na apdi, ego na ipdi. That thing, if we can break, we can do wonders together. All of you are psychologists, I'm guessing. And I want all of you to see that the Indian psychological basis, without the religion alone is not at all important. Just take each character and take the personality aspect of it. And if we can identify what their roles were, how they have actually, how using those as stories, as examples, as for cognitive restructuring, reconstruct, whatever you want, you can do. And if we can find an Indian psychology, we will be the it is our future that we can actually take forward along with our culture and our heritage. Thank you for the opportunity. Tomorrow, if Mr. Akbar, Dr. Akbar allows me to go ahead, Salim sir, Dr. Salim, if you allow me to
Yes, ma'am.
speak tomorrow, it will be on related to concept of cognition, only of thinking about the various tenets within cognition, that I would be discussing the same thing. Thank you so much,
Yes, ma'am.
sir.
With
Thank you, Salim. Thank you, sir.
with pleasure, ma'am. So tomorrow we will have yet another wonderful session, concept of cognition. Surely, ma'am.
Anybody has any doubts? We can spend another 5 minutes or 10 minutes maybe talking. If some, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sir, you are in mute, sir. Mutaya, sir.
Right.
You are in mute. Yeah.
We were talking about Arjuna feeling inferior and Bhishma feeling superior, like. And personally, coming from my perception, individual perception, a person who doesn't qualify in academics, who can happily choose to fail, and then doesn't bother about making money, and he is the one who is superior. The one who thinks, if only I get 90%, if only I get SBOA, if only I get IIT, if only I get TCS or CTS, he is the one who is feeling inferior. Otherwise, he cannot survive. The person who says go to docs and is on his own, doesn't bother about money, doesn't bother about academics, and he is the one who is feeling superior. So I have a different connotation with regard to inferiority and superiority. Quoting, I don't know much about our. I don't think our Indian culture is Hindu culture, because we were ruled by Mughals for about 300 years, and British culture was here for about 350 years. 650 years of their impact will also have a role to play in our lives. I don't think Hindu culture is Indian culture. Indian culture can exist all by itself without Hindu also, or a conglomeration of all these things also. And basically, Arjuna didn't want to kill. I don't want to kill. That doesn't make him inferior. And God instigates him to kill. That doesn't make him superior. So there also I differ. That's it.
Absolutely, sir. I totally agree. I was just taking tenets from there and taking one example. Now, when I think about that, perfectly right. In today's world, that inferiority, superiority, if you look at I'm dealing with students right now. What you said is perfect. They don't, if you take that equivalent to Arjuna, I don't want to study as become, my father is a businessman. I would like to become a businessman. I don't need to study. Adum irukku. So when you look at various, when am I putting my arms down? I am an Arjuna. When I put my arms down, I won't try. I don't need to try. I don't have to try. I am trying to compare. See, I am not at all believing. That's what I said. Don't even take it from the point of view of Hindu religion. Please don't, because I don't believe in that aspect. But when you look at Indian psychology, if you read the textbooks of Indian psychology, it is quoting all of these things. So when you take that as the base, if you take that as the base, and when you take that as the base, If we take each of the stories, this is what it's translating into. That's all I'm trying to say. Please, can you send me the feedback form that I think the organizers will send you?
Ma'am, already sent, ma'am. It is there.
Yeah, okay.
I already forwarded. Yeah.
Okay, thank you all. Is that, can we wind up? Because, yeah, any other questions?
Participant, if you have any clarification question, you can ask to today's resource person directly. Any discussion or any questions? Anybody willing to discuss with the resource person? Anita ma'am, Vishal ma'am, anything you want to discuss? I think there is no question, ma'am. So we'll go
Okay.
for thanks. For the vote of thanks, I would like to invite Dr. Subhashree ma'am to give the vote of thanks.
Subhashri
Ma'am,
ma'am
are
is
you
not
there?
there.
Thank
I
you,
don't-
Dr.
Subhashri.
Salim.
Ma'am,
Thank you, Dr. Salim.
yes, ma'am, you are audible, ma'am.
Am I audible? Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr.
Yes.
Yes,
Varma,
ma'am.
for the wonderful presentation, because it was in kind of a unique topic. It is a unique topic, so I was a little curious to, sit and watch. But I joined a little later. I could listen to you when you have been comparing Buddhism tenets and also with respect to the Indian philosophy and trying to connect with the Adlerian concepts. And there is a lot of connections. If we say that Indian roots has a lot of psychology, concepts. Only the Westerners have packaged it in a very nice way and have documented it very clearly with scientific versions. So I think there is a lot of research has to be it has to be done, and we have to really prove it. We have to really scientifically prove within documentation. That is the most responsible job of all the academicians who are sitting and who are actually propagating about only Western psychology. I think we have to really take up this at this moment, and we have to really see the roots of psychology in all our concepts. In fact, when you take Tirukkural itself, we can talk everything. Tirukkuralல இல்லாத உளவியலே இல்ல. So உலக பொதுமறையும் உளவியலும்னு சொல்லிட்டு நானே ஒரு research பண்ணணும்னு I was actually working on. So there is a lot of things you can take. If you take right from the Vedic period, and the misconception is it has been earmarked, this Varna Sastram and all came later on into the system, but that is because of the major drawback we all are having is this இந்த casteism-னால பிரிக்கப்பட்ட இந்த விஷயங்களும் அதுக்கப்புறம் இல்லாம இது ரிலீஜியஸ் ஒரு டென்ட்டோட பாக்குறதும் தான். So if you really quote Krishna, or really quote about Buddha, or really quote about anyone, it is not seen from the philosophical perspective. It is seen in the religious lens. So that's the greatest challenge we need to, as an academicians, has to break it. And we have to really work little deeper into the sense of content. And if you see this, the Buddhism concept of mindfulness, now they are packing it and they are patterning it, they are selling it very nicely. So mindfulness was there right from the right from the evolution of this Indian root. I think we have to really work, and this is something which is a very interesting topic, because most of the youngsters are unaware of all this. Totally unaware. They all know Krishna only as a god. In some family, it is not even practiced like that, and somewhere they really look him like a very charming hero. That's all. So we have to really make people to understand what is the essence of Krishna's philosophy, or whoever it may be. And if you go down with the Vedic period, that is even more. It is if you take an Mimamsa or something, and if you do a research and if you submit with that relevance, it will be the greatest treasure for everyone. All the 4 Vedas are treasure for us. And Adi Shankara talks entire aspects of living and how living is actually an graceful living. with an blessed living, and also he connects an everyday life how it has to be. So that is beautifully it has been stated. We are now talking in positive psychology with Martin Seligman's notes. So I think we have to really go deep and work on it as a research and document, and then talk with authenticity. Otherwise, it loosen up only because of the religious tint. It's my perception. It may be wrong also, but the religious tint has been already there because there is a lot of other evolution has taken place. Lot of revolution is also taken in between. So we have to really understand the concept of this casteism, religiosism, how it is affecting our cultural, the roots, which I think we need to really dig on. And this is an eye-opening kind of a perspective, I should say. That we have a lot of difference of opinion when it comes to different aspects of these Western philosophy or psychology itself. But if you really see that the Indian psychology, and you can root it and down, and you can go down with a single answer for everything, you can connect it with everything, with how you can connect with the concepts of one wholeness. That is a beautiful concept we can find in all the roots. Thank you so much for bringing to notice, and I thank from the from the core team member, from the a mental health webinar series, and also the Madurai American College and Meta School of Social Work, and the other associates are really thankful to you for your presence and your beautiful presentation on this rare topic. And I have been for a quite long time, I have not been attending. So I made a point today. It is an unique topic, so I wanted to attend. Thank you so much. And over to you, Dr. Salim.
Thank you, Dr. Subhasri ma'am, for the wonderful vote of thanks and to give the feedback about the topics and all those things. Participant, we will have yet another wonderful session tomorrow the same evening by the same resource person, Padma Anil Kumar ma'am, the topic of concept of cognition, same Alderian psychology versus Indian psychology. So we will wait for the yet another wonderful, beautiful session. Thank you all the participants, and thank you senior people in this forum, and thank you Padma ma'am. Thank you everyone. Thank you Muthia sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.